Good day, everybody, and welcome to Blighty. It is the 30th of June. It is just after midday, and the most amazing thing is going on here in the UK. I've never seen this before in the UK. Let me get myself out of the way. Okay, let's have a look at this. This is Reform UK. They are having the equivalent of an American convention. It is happening right now here in the UK. And look at the crowds that are here. You do not see this. This is an election convention. It's like a Donald Trump convention in America. Let's say this. NEC, the National Exhibition Centre, they have completely sold out. There are 13,000 people actually watching this right now as it is being live streamed. It is the most amazing. I'm just going to turn off the sound for a little bit. It's the most amazing thing. I've never, ever seen this in the UK before. What is going on? What is happening in the UK in relation to politics, even after all the shit that has been going on? After all of the abuse that the Reform Party has taken, after all the crap that has been said about them, some of it will be true. There are some people in Reform Party who are not politicians. They're not politicians. They don't have the background. They don't say things in exactly the right way, just like me. I do not say things in the right way. They call a spade, and a lot of them call a lot of black people spades, which is not the way to do it. So Nigel Farage kicks them out.
The rally for reform is about to begin.
So it's about to begin. It's a rally for reform. What is going on? We are not American here, but we are delivering American style electioneering and history here in the UK.
To the stage, Chief Executive of Reform UK, Paul Oakton.
I don't even know who Paul Oakton is. I haven't got a clue, but he's coming on stage. This place is sold out. This is like Donald Trump in America.
Good afternoon, Birmingham.
And why does the stage look like a huge
Are there any
penis?
Reform voters in the House today? I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for Nigel, and he can't hear you.
There is something
anyone
massive
in here
going on.
voting Reform UK on Thursday? Marvellous. Good
You're
choice.
calling him a skinhead?
Ladies and gentlemen,
He's
welcome.
really a
And what
balding
an absolute
guy
delight
that's
to see
shaved his
thousands
hair.
of you here in Birmingham. Thank you not just for coming, but for being part of this incredible political movement.
Are you saying
This,
Paul Oakton
ladies and
looks like a
gentlemen,
walking
is what
penis?
the future
Andy?
looks like.
What a terrible thing to say. You might be right.
Our aim is to make Britain great
it
again.
may well
and that
be,
mission takes a
that
huge leap forward
he
today here in
has
Birmingham.
a skinhead,
Now,
but
some
it
of
has
you know me.
overtones
Our members
of
and supporters
racism.
will have seen me speak at conferences and have received emails from me. But for those of you that don't, I have the privilege of being the Chief Executive of Reform UK.
I've never actually
And
heard
before I
of Paul
introduce the
Oakton.
rest of the dream
He's
team
the
who
chief
are speaking
executive.
today, I'd
Okay.
like to tell you why I do this. Because why I'm here is also why we're gathering so much support from both sides of the political spectrum. Just 4 years ago, a small group of us started a
Now, I'm not sure I need to go into the detail of listening to his history of it. The main reason for this very quick stream from me is not necessarily to listen to everything that's being said, but to consider what this all means. It doesn't really matter what this guy says at all. What matters is this is a whole new way of doing politics in the UK. There are a bunch of people, a hell of a lot of people, who have ended up coming together at a convention. This is amazing. It's happening all across the UK whenever Nigel Farage and any of the big wigs from Reform Party are going to be on a stage giving a speech somewhere. There are thousands of people there. This is just like America. There is something big happening in UK politics, and the mainstream media does not want to cover it. Look at these pictures here. Look at the number of people that are here. They have filled the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham. Let's have a quick listen.
With their lives that help ensure an accountable government which operates truly in the service of the British people instead of controlling or nannying them into a dependency.
I'm guessing this is what's called a populist movement. There are, let's see, how many people are actually watching this right at the moment? 16,500 people are watching this alongside all of the people that are actually at this rally. We have 5 days to go until our election. It's happening on Thursday. The Labour Party isn't doing this, and they're certainly not filling halls. The Tory Party are not doing this, and they're not filling halls. The SNP aren't doing it. Plaid Cymru aren't doing it. The Green Party aren't doing it. They're not getting the people there in relation to elections. This is absolutely stunning.
Now, as we all know, the Tories had a huge majority in 2019, largely down to the willingness of Nigel and Richard to put country before party. We collectively gave the Tories one last chance to prove that they...
Brojo, good day, good day. Yes, Thursday is the 4th of July. It is, in Reform's terms, UK Independence Day. The UK... I don't know what's going to happen. Everybody said, oh, Reform Party is just a little populist thing. They're not going to get anything. Then suddenly people are going, well, Nigel Farage might get his seat in Clacton. And then those people going, Reform Party might get 5 seats. Just this week, Reform Party with the polls are predicted to get 18 seats. I don't know if this is just about to go absolutely ballistic, because these people seem to be taking, this party seems to be taking the people with them, and they're getting people interested in politics. And the more people that vote in each area that vote for reform may well absolutely cause a major, major shock. Whether it is they become the second party and the official opposition, or God forbid they become the government, I don't know what's going on. I'm just looking at these pictures. The mainstream media is not covering this in terms of how big reform might actually be. I don't know. I haven't got a clue. But yeah, Thursday, the 4th of July, could well be UK Independence Day for the Reform Party.
To started, Labour will just continue. A government focused on surveillance, control and confiscation, designed to remove choice, truth, assets, and along with them, the most valuable commodity of all, your agency. They are both the same, so annihilating the Tories is only half the job. Labour, we have you in our sights, rest assured.
See, we just heard a few words that he said. I'm concerned that he's using words that a lot of people might not understand. The term agency, we may understand it in some of our communities where we've been discussing and debating for the past 10 years across YouTube. We understand the word agency. The general populace across the UK may not understand that word and what it means. And as Nerdy says, this is simply heretic trying to apply a post hoc rationalization to the decision he's already made for his vote. I don't think it's a post hoc rationalization, because I had already taken the decision for my vote. This this is highlighting that something really weird is going on in the UK. I have never been a part of a group that that has been popular, as you are aware, Nerdy. And this is unreal, really. I don't really understand what's going on, and the rest of the country may well be, I hesitate to say coming into line, may well be waking up.
We will.
Something to say, this is not just
now our party
men at this thing. This is full of women as well.
With a variety of experiences. But for me, there is one person who has provided a level of counsel and wisdom beyond most. And this person is proof that not all heroes wear capes or lycra, but in fact might come in a different package. One with a stylish bob haircut and a handbag.
Yes, a new wokeness, Andy. A new wokeness is required, being awake
with us before this election and during,
to the stuff that he was saying about freedoms.
Child maintenance service.
He was talking about freedoms earlier on, and the fact that we are being completely gaslighted, we are being held down, we are being lied to, we are being controlled, we are not getting access to the information that we need to get to, and we are not allowed to say certain things. So this is just fascinating. I am finding this absolutely fascinating that there are so many people that are willing to turn up on a Sunday, a nice summer Sunday here in the UK. People have gone to Birmingham and filled up the National Exhibition Centre hall that they are using, and it is like a Donald Trump American convention. I'm assuming this is Nigel Farage coming out. Is it? No, it doesn't look like. No, this looks like Anne Widdecombe. Let's see.
Hello. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now then, I'm going to ask you a simple question. We're going to win, aren't we? That's right. And that sort of level of energy and enthusiasm is what we have got to keep up for the next 4 days.
Yes, Nerdy, they're bringing out the big guns. Anne Widdecombe. It's like, she was a right pain when she was a Tory. She left politics I think it was just after the Brexit referendum. So, I mean, she's been out for about 7 years. But they've suddenly decided to roll her out at this convention because there's a lot of people there.
It's above all common sense.
Yes, Sandy. I'm going to say yes. She's a 10 out of 10.
Where is the common sense in the Tories saying that we haven't got enough doctors and then operating a cap on the number of doctors in training and not even raising that cap until they were at the very gates of the general.
So she's doing typical electioneering rhetoric. It's like she's going to get a lot of people clapping for her. I can't stand listening to her voice. I never liked her in the first place. I guess she's pulling some strings behind the scenes somewhere, or she is an advisor in some way, but she's supporting the Reform Party. Look, Sandy, she's a 10 out of 10. All women are 10 out of 10. I've been told this constantly. I'm on board with the message. I'm absolutely on board with the message. Yes, she's, fantastic. Let's see how many people are watching now.
Sense of turning our
20,000
into one which teaches children what to think instead of teaching them how to think.
So she's hitting on the educational indoctrination that's going on within our schools, something we've been talking about for a long time. This type of thing is going to grab some voters, some people who are going, I don't like this current woke ideas. I need a new set of woke ideas. I need to be awake to what the woke are doing. Cy London, welcome. Not heard of you before. The mainstream media are doing a hatchet job on reform and everyone knows it. I am in complete agreement with you. But the thing is, everyone does know it and people are moving away from the mainstream media. And look at the crowds that are in this place. This American-style convention, electioneering convention, getting thousands of people there, getting 20,000 people watching a live stream at midday on Sunday. Clearly, everybody's just come out of the church and they need a bit more people telling them what to do. Yes, that was sarcastic. /S. I know my Reddit terminology. Nobody goes to the churches anymore, and everybody wants the UK to be better than it currently is. Reform is the new woke, so says Nerdy. And they've even got Anne Widdecombe there to tell us this is how to be woke. And I'm with reform completely. There has been something really shit going on in the past. Fucking hell. The whole of my life, there's been a load of shit in politics going on. I am not saying that it won't be shit if reform gets in place. They will just be another political party. But they are claiming that they have and follow the same principles and values that I do in a lot of ways. Protect your country, freedom of speech, give agency back to the population, stop spending a load of money on shit stuff, reduce the taxes of people and let the people develop and grow this country. I'm for that. There are going to be problems. There are going to be people who say the wrong things. There are going to be people who have wrong think in their minds as they do all of this stuff. And as ministers, they'll say the same things. None of the people that come in, if they do really well, will have a background in parliament, in politics. They will be normal people and they're going to make mistakes. The mainstream media is going to have a field day in annihilating everybody that does all of this, but they're going to try and make a difference. As such, it's to me, this is a really important time for the UK. Brodo, the MSM is dying with the boomers. I think you'll find that there's a lot of the boomers that are actually demanding something like reform. A lot of the boomers have been really pissed off with our two-party system here in the UK, with the occasional single parliament from 2010 where the Liberal Democrats were able to join the fascist Tories and be in Parliament and ruin their own principles. Let's have a little bit more of a listen to what Annie Widdecombe is saying.
But we will have a plan B because some of those votes will still get through, and we're honest enough to admit it. So what are we going to do? We're going to house all new asylum seekers in secure reception centres, not in hotels.
So one of the big things for reform is about immigration, particularly illegal immigration. So Anne Widdecombe's talking about that right at the moment. Instead of housing them in really, really expensive hotels, we're going to put them into cages like Donald Trump did with Mexicans coming through on the south border. I'm not sure that's a particularly good idea. I would prefer it if we had some very clear principles around this, such as somebody arrives illegally and has thrown away all their documentation to prove who they are and what country they came from, then they get put pretty much immediately on an aeroplane to go to Rwanda, which is the Tory policy. I think Reform will probably follow it and maintain that. Send these people over to Rwanda so that all of the checks on them can be done. And if they pass those checks and tests, then they can come back. But the problem is, if they have thrown away all of their papers and all of their documentation and all their proof of who they are and where they've come from, why should the UK take them in? If they're a refugee, of course, there would have to be some small amounts of leeway in this, particularly where children are involved. But I think if you're going to come here and try and claim asylum and you have thrown away your documentation about who you are and where you're from, then you passed through the EU in order to get to the UK. I mean, why? How is heretic wrong? Get verbose, mousy buddy. Come on, nerdy. Come on, tell us. How am I wrong? I'm often wrong. Very often. You all know that. I know that.
In order that we could have freedom.
I think Anne Widdecombe knows that. She wants freedom. I don't. I want you all caged up. I want you all to be listening to me and indoctrinated with everything that I say. Maybe not.
Or afraid of being reported.
What did she say there? What did she say? Let's have a listen.
In order that we may say what we think and not have to censor ourselves because we're afraid of losing jobs or afraid of being reported.
That is an absolutely key thing. That is exactly what has been happening over the past 10, 15 years. It's got worse and worse and worse. We've got CCTV absolutely everywhere. We are being followed. We are being surveilled. And not only that, you've got social media. You've got lobbyists and massive lobby groups on social media who come in and obliterate anybody that has wrongthink, and those people get investigated by these lobby groups, and then information is sent through to their employer, and their employer is all scared about this and sacks people for having an opinion they're allowed to have. You're allowed to have any opinion that you like, but nowadays you're not allowed to have a job while having an opinion that does not accord with the woke mindset of today's age. One of the things that is a problem for Anne Widdecombe with what she just said there is if you take her views to the extreme, then we must accept that there are absolutely far left people, communists, socialist workers, wokeists, people who want all of the weird ideas that are going on today, and they have the right to actually promote it. But then you have to go all the way to the other extreme, and you have to accept that there are the equivalent of national socialists and complete fascists, and they should be allowed to say what they want, and they should be able to keep their jobs as well. The Reform Party is not looking at freedom of speech and freedom of expression in that way. The Reform Party will allow you to have whatever you like, but if you've got the wrong extremist ideas, the Reform Party will kick you out, but they will accept your vote. So there are some clear issues that come with freedom of belief, freedom of speech and all that, especially if you're promoting it and then saying certain people are allowed and we do not want them. So if you've got a principle, it starts getting difficult at times, and there has to be some better arguments around it. Well, thank you, Anne. She clearly gave a speech there that the Reform Party supporters in the audience were very, very happy with. We didn't hardly listen to any of it. Here comes Mr. Oakden again, the chief executive.
Ladies and gentlemen, Anne Widdecombe.
Is Anne Widdecombe
Now,
older
it is
than
a real
Joe
honour
Biden?
for me to introduce
Possibly.
our next speaker for you today. We are not the Conservative Party, thank heavens, but it means that we are not supported financially by big business and big banks. We're not Labour.
Apparently, I'm falling for propaganda in real time. I think we all fall for some level of propaganda. I just find that this party is saying it has certain values that and principles that align with mine, and I know that there are problems with those values and principles, and they have to be considered in real time as well. But there's an old saying or actually there's a new saying. Some young people were asked, they were asked, who's this coming on stage now? Is this Nigel? Looks like the hair's too dark and he's too young for Nigel. Looks like Ramaswamy.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Reform UK.
I think that's Bibek or whatever his name is. I'm just pausing that for the moment because I want to hear what he says. So Anne Widdecombe is 76, same age nearly as Donald Trump. So what I was saying was that there's been a question on recently that has sort of gone viral on social media, on YouTube and whatever. And the question is to men, they said, oh, if you could get 80% of what you wanted from a woman, would that be acceptable? And most guys have said, acceptable? That would be a dream. Getting 80% of what I'm looking for in a woman, that would be amazing. Give me that anytime, please. And then they asked the same question to women. If you got 80% of what you wanted in a man, the women's response was, no way, that would be settling. And that's the bit of politics that I'm sort of looking at as well. Can I get 80%, 70% of what my values and principles are? If so, I'm going to support them. And that, to me, is what Reform UK is saying, and I'm going to support them. I certainly don't get 100%. I certainly won't agree with Richard Tice, who is the ex-leader before Nigel Farage came in, around Ukraine and Russia. I don't agree with Nigel Farage's take on Russia and Putin, because I don't think that they're looking at it from a empathetic point of view, even though he looked at it from an empathetic point of view in saying that the EU is provoking a war with Ukraine and Russia. Back in 2014, he said that. Boris Johnson said it in 2016, although he denies it now. So I'm getting sort of 80% of what I want from what the Reform Party says. Are the Reform Party going to actually deliver that? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know whether they're lying to me just like every other bloody political party always has done. But I think it's worth taking a gamble rather than going for Labour or the Tory party or the Lib Dems, who are all exactly the same. They are clones. They will just maintain the same old, same old. They will do the same things, tinkering at the edges, but essentially doing exactly the same shit. And it's time that we had a bit of a change. One of the other things is if Donald Trump gets in, and long shot, if Reform gets in, then we've got Farage and Trump. It's going to be the dream team. Maybe not. Who knows? We'll see.
Are you all fired up?
I can't remember this guy's name.
I'm Zia Yusuf. I'm a technology entrepreneur who sold my
Don't know
company
him.
last year and I just became one of the biggest donors to Reform UK.
Rah, rah, rah! He's a big donor.
Let me tell you why I did it and why I'm here. I did it because I love Britain. I love my country. Britain is home to the warmest, most welcoming people in the world. We would do well to ask, why do so many wish to come here and make Britain their home? The answer is British values.
It's because we're not afraid to be cunts. Now that was a joke. S. Williams, Reform UK valued at minus 1.3 million. How many fools are backing these idiots whilst Farage lines his own pockets? That's a very strange thing to say. It's a political party, and you're saying it's valued at minus 1.3 million. I don't know what that means. Had they spent 1.3 million pounds more than they're getting in? We've just got Zia Yusuf here. I think that's what he said his name was, who is a major donor. If you're going to get a political party to actually break in and break through, Reform UK doesn't have any mainstream media behind them, doesn't have major backers behind them, and they're pushing for something new. You sound like, oh, it's a limited company. It's not a political party. Look it up. Really? Really? You know, I wonder what Tory headquarters is. I mean, they have accountants as well, and they have to tell everybody how much money that they're bringing in. You sound like you're trying to make strange demands on a single political party in order to deliver the financial accounting requirements. It has to be a limited company. It has to take in money. It has to account for itself, and it has to be accountable to the British public, which is why it will be a limited company. What do you want them to be, a charity or something? How are you supposed to set up a political party if you can't take in money and then account for it to the British people? I think you're being a bit naive and a bit silly, S. Williams.
Nobody knows better than I the contribution that immigrants can make to Britain. However, when my parents emigrated here in the 1980s, annual net migration to Britain was around 50,000. This meant public services were not overstretched and new arrivals could assimilate comfortably.
You see, this is one of the strangest arguments that people put against reform and against parties that want to control migration. Legal migration is legal migration. Asylum seeking is asylum seeking. But when you have illegal migration by economic migrants who are claiming that they require asylum, that's where every country needs to control that. It's a fascinating argument that a load of people come out and go, open borders, everybody can come in. And yet we know what problems that we have got in this country. You can't see a doctor. You've got schools that are absolutely overloaded. They're going to get even worse under the Labour Party. The Labour Party wanting to put VAT on independent schools, the payments by people who send their children to independent schools. It was I think it was the Financial Times yesterday that 40,000 people will suddenly go, okay, well, I'll send my kids to the local state school instead. Where are those 40,000 extra places going to come from? I think S. Williams is a bit of a charlatan himself. And Farage had £2 million of taxpayers' money in EU salary. Yes, he was voted in as a member of the European Parliament. People voted him in, and he got paid a salary. What kind of stupidity is this? Huh? What kind of stupidity is this? The UK Independence Party, UKIP, reorganised itself nationally as a private company limited by guarantee. And it's got to be some kind of company in order to be able to do its accounts and to prove that it is not stealing money. Yeah, you're just a wokey, S. Williams. You do not want change. You just want everything to carry on exactly as it is at the moment. Well, I'm telling you, things are going to change.
Last year in this country, 19,000 for 3 days. This is not something we are willing to accept. This is unbecoming of Great Britain. And this is no fault. This is no fault of our amazing frontline NHS workers who work so hard in awful conditions for us.
Where has that money gone? The recent 40,000 people who paid the whole of £25, making £1 million into Reform UK. Where has that money gone? How about it's gone to £100,000 went to a company that was supposed to check all of the potential candidates for Reform UK, and they just stole that money. So they're going to sue them for that money back. It's going to things like this: a load of money through to Birmingham National Exhibition Centre, a load of advertising. It's gone to election expenses. Every single election candidate has got their own banners and posters and leaflets in order to promote the Reform Party. This is called election spending. You cannot build a party for election purposes and only spend £1 million. It's not possible unless you do it this way that the Reform Party is doing. They are doing all of it, most of it online. They are leveraging social media. They are not doing advertising. They are being very canny and savvy with their £1 million. Where has the money gone? Well, if they're a limited company, it will be within the accounts. And when the accounts come out, it will tell you where the money has gone and where they spent it. Stop being an idiot, S. Williams. Please, at least have arguments that are useful and beneficial to anybody, because you're just trying to throw shit at a wall and see where it sticks. That's all that you're doing. It's the type of shit that we have to deal with in our community here on YouTube all the fucking time. Getting rid of you now.
Face down the slave ships and forced them to comply. In doing so, the heroes of the West Africa Squadron freed 150,000 slaves with the sacrifice of 17,000 of its own sailors and enormous financial costs. The world owes a debt of gratitude to Britain.
The world owes a debt of gratitude to Britain. I'm not sure about that. Our colonialist past has a problem. I know what he's saying here. We went out and we did this and we did that. A lot of Americans say it as well. Oh, the War of Independence. I watched the Hodge twins the other day. The War of Independence was a load of white people against a load of white people, and they were fighting to get rid of slavery. A load of people from the North were fighting to stop slavery, to give black people independence. Yeah, but it was a load of white people that took them there in the first place. And it's like, I don't think it's a really good argument. I don't think he's coming out with a good argument here, but it may well be a populist argument that gets people up, or if they really think about it, it could actually prevent a lot of people from voting for reform, because you got people like this saying certain things. We haven't listened to exactly what this guy has said. If anybody wants to watch exactly what he says, they can go to Nigel Farage's own YouTube channel, which is what this is being live streamed on. And there are now, how many people watching? 22,000 people watching live. They can go to it. It's called Live Rally for Reform UK. You'll be able to watch this yourself on your own computer anywhere in the world, because it's on YouTube. It's on Nigel Farage's YouTube. And you will be able to listen to what these people are saying. Sandy said, Sandy, I'm not American. I could well be confused between civil war and the fight for something else. But there's the Civil War and the fight for independence. I do know that there were the two different ones. Yeah. Or am I getting confused? I don't know. But there was a load of fighting in order to, but from between the North and the South. I'm not an expert on American politics. You know that. You can teach me better, Sandy.
You know this country needs fewer bureaucrats and more builders. Fewer diversity officers and more police officers. Less time lecturing other countries about their borders. More time defending and securing our borders here at home.
Completely agree with that. Completely agree with having more police officers on the streets doing the job that they used to do in the 1970s.
Who love their country. A movement for those who want to see British values protected, who wish to see our culture celebrated. But let us be under no illusions. This mission will not be easy.
Jill, you might find this interesting. This is the equivalent of a Trump rally here in the United Kingdom. I have never seen this before in my 5.5 decades of being on this planet. I have never seen in the UK that there has been an electioneering convention like this, a rally that has filled up a hall full of people as part of an election to get them excited to go out and vote. And I've got a feeling there's something going on here, and a lot of people might get excited enough to vote and cause a major, major upset and a major change in British politics. And no, this isn't Vivek Ramaswamy.
In the belief that victory is possible. He inspired me. He has inspired you. He will continue to inspire millions across this great country.
He will inspire people. What it's going to be like if he actually gets into power is a different thing. Who knows? But I mean, I think it would be fascinating if Vivek Ramaswamy did end up on this stage today as a surprise for everybody. Following on from Mr. Zia Yusuf here.
By slurs or milkshakes. And just as he took on the banks and won, just as he took on the mighty European Union and won, now he will lead us as we take on the elite political class, and we will win.
I got a drop for that, bro, Joe. I've got a drop.
That's racist.
Yeah. Naughty, naughty, naughty. I got another drop, and this relates to the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom needs this. It's exactly what the UK needs.
After 20-hour day, after 20-hour day, he leads us on this journey at huge personal cost. He carries a heavy burden on his shoulders for us, and he does so with the grace and good humor that only Nigel can.
20-hour day. A 20-hour day, a 20-hour... It sounds like the Margaret Thatcher stuff. Everybody back in the 1980s, the early 1980s, used to say, Margaret Thatcher lives on 4 hours sleep every night. That is it. She only needs 4 hours sleep. And I'm thinking that's a load of shit, isn't it? It's the type of thing they say about Biden nowadays. Or maybe they used to say it about Biden. I don't know. Where's Nigel? Look at this crowd. This does not happen in the UK.
Ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake. We are living through history being made in this country.
History.
In 100 years' time, they will study this pivotal chapter of British history. Children will learn.
Welcome, Kit Kat.
Children will learn of prime ministers who locked
Make
down
Britain
their own
great
people
again.
in the most authoritarian, draconian fashion, and then through parties for themselves in Downing.
What's interesting about the Reform UK slogan is it's not Make Britain Great Again, it's Make Britain Great. They've got rid of the again. They've just gone, oh, Britain's really fucking shit at the moment and has been shit for quite a while and has been going downhill for quite a while. Let's forget the again. Let's forget the again. Let's just make Britain great. You know, you got to start somewhere, is what they're saying. Biden sleeps 20 hours a day now. And those 4 hours a day when he's awake, nobody can fucking understand anything he says anyway. It's like...
I see a Britain in the future which has secure borders. I see a
Secure
poised
borders.
and powerful Britain which celebrates
Powerful.
its proud history and looks forward
Celebrated.
with confidence to its future. I see a Britain that
Confident.
protects its values and cherishes its
Protect
culture.
values.
I see a Britain with
Cherishes
patriotic,
culture.
highly capable
Patriotic.
leaders. I see a Britain in
Capable
which after
leaders.
having paid your taxes your whole life, you can go to the hospital and be
Go
seen
to
by
the
world-class
hospital
doctors and
and
nurses
die.
at once.
Die
I
in the
see a
hospital.
Britain in which our young people can not only afford to move out of their parents' homes, but one in which they can afford to buy a home of their own. I see a Britain which puts British people first.
The thing about that, Mr. Yusuf, is you need the parents and you need the culture and you need the desire for people to push for things. We don't currently have that. We have a government nanny state that just wants everybody to have a nice, easy, simple life. And if it's not working for you, we'll give you some money. I think this is going to take generations to actually turn this country around. You need hard times to build hard people. Hard people will then get on and do the hard stuff and they will work on their feet for 15, 16 hours a day just to survive. That's how it used to be. We've got soft. It's been nice. It's nice being soft. I love being soft. I love sitting around doing absolutely sweet fuck all, sat at my desk, getting fatter and lazier and not being able to breathe properly. But it's no good for us. It's no good for us whatsoever. There's something that just came out that we've only got 4. Somebody from our military just said, if somebody was to attack us, I think he was talking about Russia. If somebody was to attack us, we've got no defense because we've only got 4 bloody Tornado aeroplanes in the UK. 2 in Lossiemouth in Scotland and 2 in Slingsby in Lincolnshire, is it? Or Lancashire somewhere? Or wherever it was that they said it was. Slingsby, I might have got that wrong as well. I mean, these are concerning aspects. We don't have anybody wanting to go into the military. We don't have anybody who's prepared to defend our country. We've lost everything to do with patriotism. People are not prepared to fight for our country or to make it better. And that is going to be a massive cultural change that we need to implement. We need to be proud of our country in some way. I hate that term. How can you be proud of your country? But you can be patriotic. You can want to protect it, defend it, make it better, make the world better in the world that you live in, i.e. my country, and promote the benefits for my country and work hard to actually get those benefits. But since the 1980s, we have annihilated all of our industry and we've moved towards a service economy, which means most of us sit on our fucking fat asses all the time instead of actually getting out there and doing shit and producing stuff. Hey-ho.
Idea at that point, just the level of humility, care, and commitment that Richard possesses. Qualities that you simply will not find in any establishment politician. It's no secret that, yes, he's sunk tremendous amounts of his own resource into the party.
Come on, nerdy. Freedom of movement is not restricted. As long as you stay in the UK is what you're saying. No, it's not restricted. It's just like every other country in the world. You need a passport to be able to move out of your country and to move into some other country. You might need a visa or you might not. Come on, nerdy.
We needed to hire a campaign bus. Just went and bought one. And sat on the top of it now, by the way, is Anne Widdicombe on the top of Tice Force 1. Hi, Anne. Give Anne a wave.
You couldn't move anywhere, nerdy. You couldn't move to the United States.
And it's a team effort.
It's no different
from the front.
You couldn't move to anywhere in South America.
He's led
you
by
couldn't
example.
move to anywhere other than the other EU member states, which are now a communist establishment. Who the hell wants to go there?
That's what we're now starting to see across the country. A team
apart from
effort.
me.
So Richard Tice might not have been the leader that everyone expected, but I am absolutely certain that he was the leader at the time that people needed.
Richard Tice was the leader that people needed at the time. He just kept it ticking over.
And I just want to emphasise this.
He needed Farage to come in.
To end the establishment's feeble attempt to portray...
He needed Farage to come in. Reform UK would have done absolutely nothing without Farage at the front. It was going nowhere. There was no way they were going to get anybody into Parliament. There was no way anybody was supporting them. They brought in Farage something like 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, and suddenly there is a movement. Richard Tice, he just ticked it over. It was going nowhere. I find him a bit bland, to tell you the truth. But he did tick it over, and he has brought Farage back in. I don't know what's going to happen with the Reform Party. I don't know whether it's just going to have lots of factions and infighting, just like all the bloody Tories. Just like the Labour Party. I would expect that, actually. Here's Richard. Let's listen to a little bit of Mr. Bland, shall we? Stop over-talking the bald guy.
Hello. How? You can't! What? You don't understand. Listen, what? If you got something to say, say it. Spit it out. Come on. I'm trying to. Why are you so upset?
What a vision, what a sight. Are you having fun? Are you sure? Excellent.
Who has fun at a bloody political rally? Come on, Richard. They're not playing child games or Monopoly.
Think Keir Starmer could organise this sort of event?
No chance.
Do you think Rishi Sunak could organise this sort of passion and conviction?
That's what I've been saying.
Only Reform UK can organise such an event.
Nobody has done this
Not
in my
only
whole
are we
life.
having fun here, but I got to tell you, all of you, most of you, many of you, out on the campaign trail, hopefully you're having some fun too. There's an extraordinary thing going on out there. I have to say I'm loving it where I'm campaigning. It's remarkable. We're having a load of fun. Lots of people saying, I'm with you, I'm with you. It's very exciting. People come along and give me hugs, but you must always keep your feet on the ground. And you must never think you've convinced everybody. As I learned the other day.
His name was Donald Trump, nerdy.
And I think, yes, we're going to win.
And Joe Biden.
4 doors down.
But the one with the mustache was Hillary Clinton.
You knock on the door and you take a step back. Just so the punch doesn't quite reach you. The door opens. The lady looks at me. I look at her. She looks at me again and she shakes her head. Not a chance, and slams the door. It keeps your feet on the ground, but we are having an extraordinary impact on this election. Something's happening out there. There's a whole bunch, there's millions and millions of shy reformers. Do you remember those shy Brexiteers?
I have no idea what that means.
Now there's millions of shy reformers who on Thursday are going to come out and vote reform.
Question mark.
Now,
is that what he said?
I'm very grateful to Paul for his kind words. He's a brilliant chief exec. I've never known him be quite so nice about me. Thank you, Paul. I just want to say a few words about the journey because it has been pretty remarkable. It was just over 3 years ago that Paul and I looked at each other, a bit like that lady in the...
I wonder if he took a week to learn this speech, Richard.
And just think about it. We were 0% in the polls. We had a new brand that nobody had heard of.
You're getting cheeky.
And we had the equivalent of effectively no money in the bank account. I mean, it wasn't a great outlook, to be honest. And Boris was up there in the polls. We thought, let's buy a bus. It's one of the first investments we made. And here it is today, the bus with Anne Widdecombe on top of it. And that bus is helping campaigning. And then where I'm campaigning, my constituency, we've got a taxi.
And the freaking
the taxi, it's decked out in our colours with the Union Jack on, and most importantly, it's got a megaphone. And last Monday, Widders was on the megaphone, driving through Boston and Skegness, shouting, "Vote Reform, vote Tice." It was remarkable.
China.
Old school campaigning. And everyone laughed at us back then.
Old school campaigning, but they've gone for it's old school United States campaigning. And the thing is, it's working. Look what they're doing. The other parties cannot deliver this. They just can't do it. They can't get people into halls this size and basically sell them out. They just can't do it. I'm really thinking there's something going on here. I don't know whether they get shafted because we've not got proportional representation, or whether they will get enough people in each constituency to actually vote for them. It'll be absolutely unbelievable.
And they may not be the BBC. And maybe the next speaker might say a few words about them. But I actually do want to say, because there are some people in the media who do deserve a huge amount of credit and thanks. Because
this should be interesting.
That without a bit of balance, without the ability and the capacity to talk.
Is he going to talk about Talk TV and GB News?
Say a massive thank you to Talk Radio and to GB News.
Yes, there you go. But they're still fringe media outlets. Very, very few people watch them.
They've done what you should do in a democracy. They've wanted more debate, more discussion.
The big thing is social media nowadays. Nobody is watching mainstream media.
I think actually what
they've done, of people are using Telegram.
A massive, constructive, positive contribution towards democracy in this country.
If you're going to have a social media impact, you need influencers to be involved. with big
I do also want to
audience.
thank Paul and his incredible team, because when we started on this journey, there were literally 5 or 6 of us, and it was extraordinary. And we did think that maybe we were barking up the wrong tree. And as we got,
I wonder how long this rally is going on for.
Is elections, it was hard, but here we are today.
Is it just an hour? Is it
political
2
rally
hours?
in this campaign?
Where's
it went
Nigel?
From 0% to the mid-teens as this election started, and that is remarkable.
From 0%
Why did
to
it
the
happen?
mid-teens. Because of Nigel.
Why did it happen? I think for one simple reason, and Anne touched on it earlier.
Nigel.
Common sense.
No, Nigel.
We stand
China.
for common sense.
China.
Nigel.
China.
Nigel. We need to get Donald Trump going. Nigel. It was Nigel. Nigel
also
did it.
stand
It was
for
Nigel.
3 things that are probably the most important 3 things for all of us: family, community, and country.
See, this is where Reform have got a big, big problem. Families have been obliterated and communities have been obliterated. They were obliterated at the beginning of the 1980s. It not only happened in the UK under Thatcher, but it also happened in America under Reagan. This is a massive generational set of changes. They might be making a bit of a move towards getting people supporting them, but I'm not sure there's going to be a culture change to allow it, because people want their children to grow up and fuck off out of the house and go and start and do their own thing. People don't like talking to their neighbors. I mean, it's not a community area anymore. Everybody is individual. That's exactly what the Tories did back in the 1980s. It's exactly what Reagan did in America. It's the same type of thing. Everybody for themselves, rather than community stuff. This is a big desire for them. I'm not particularly against it. I just don't think people are interested in it. In English, motherfucker. I just don't think people are interested in it anymore. I think things have to get hard and tough for people to accept that type of thing. And in Britain, everybody's soft and it's quite easy because the government allows it to be quite easy. But it's going to take a lot of time to get away from those ideas.
And surely it's common sense on law and order to get our police officers on the streets protecting us rather than sitting behind desks policing tweets, for heaven's sake. By the way, talking of social media, there's some breaking news that Nigel is going to break. Goodness me, you won't believe what's going on.
Breaking news.
It's common sense also, I think.
You won't believe what's going on. But Nigel's going to say it.
I think it's common
sense. Let's go a bit further.
That there's only 2 sexes,
see what Nigel
2 genders.
does.
Nigel Farage.
Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage.
Nigel Farage.
Reform's honorary president, Nigel Farage, has decided not to stand as a candidate.
You're either running for Reform or you're not.
Nigel Farage is not going to stand.
I understand from Nigel Farage he is not going to be standing.
Breaking news in the last few moments, Nigel Farage has tweeted this.
Is he going to stand?
So the big question is, does Nigel want to stand?
A few days after he completely ruled out running in this election, Nigel Farage called an emergency press conference to announce he'd changed his mind.
He is going to be standing at the general election as a candidate for Reform.
He's the only one that made a difference. He's the only one that has actually got this moving.
Return to politics. He is running in the upcoming British election.
Nigel Farage is returning to politics.
So I'm coming back as leader of Reform UK, but not just for this election campaign. I'm coming back for the next 5 years. I am going to stand in this election in the Essex seaside town of Clacton.
Clacton.
Guess who's back?
Back again. Katie's back. Tell your friends. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back?
Hello?
Hello? Come on, Nigel.
Hello?
Let's play a game.
Come on, folks.
Here he comes. Is he going to walk out on the stage? Or is he going to fly? Here he is. Here he is. Just like Joe Biden, isn't it? Look at this. Like a zombie walking out. Doesn't know what's going on. Doesn't know which direction to take. Maybe not. He's an old school politician. He knows how to play the crowd. He knows how to get people going. He knows how to answer questions. He knows how to stick to his principles. Unlike most of the fucking assholes nowadays. Nigel. That was like an anonymous mask around his face then. Wow. They're all stood up. This is a Trump rally.
Good afternoon, Birmingham. Welcome to the thinking man and thinking woman's alternative to Glastonbury.
Hey, Tories.
Are you scared?
Are we having fun?
Hey, Labour.
Good.
Are you scared?
Unlike all the other stuffed shirts, we are real people. We believe in ourselves. We believe in our country. We believe in our future. But we also believe in having fun and enjoying life and being optimistic about the future of our great country.
He's a bit like our Macron as well. When Macron originally came in, it was a Breton party.
I got to tell you,
it just arose just like
the
that.
last time I was in front of a crowd like this, it was the
1st
of January 2020, and we were in Parliament Square. And it was the moment that we finally left the European Union. And Richard and I were up on stage, and what a moment! What a moment! It was something that I campaigned for over a quarter of a century. And it was simply because I believe for all that time that the best people to govern Britain were the British people themselves. That's what it was all about. Anyway.
What it was all about.
To do the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. And of course, the fireworks, which 4, 3, and we're out.
1.
And I thought, well, I've achieved my life's goal. We've got back the self-governance of our nation, and it's time for me.
Is he going to say something interesting?
It's time for me to walk away from active politics, having done it for a quarter of a century, including, of course, 20 years in the European Parliament.
He does like to talk about himself,
which I enjoyed a lot more than they did, let me tell you.
I wish he'd talk more about what he's going to do, what the party will do.
And so,
rather
for the
than
last
just
4
about
years,
himself.
Life has been pretty good.
He'll talk about his grandchild that was born on the 23rd
get GB
of June.
News off the ground and do 4 shows a week, which I've loved. I've been back and forth across the Atlantic like a commuter, speaking at colleges, speaking at conventions. All 4 of my children are now grown up. Indeed, so much so that this week, on of all days, the 23rd of June, the 8th anniversary of Brexit, my first grandson was born as well.
What did I tell you? What the hell did I tell you?
I don't know about you guys, but I am voting for Donald J.
Jesus
Trump.
Christ.
Life has been pretty good.
He's been saying this for the past week and a half.
I've not needed to work much on Saturdays and Sundays. I've not been subject to endless media attacks.
Nobody cares.
We might come back to that, funnily enough. And I've earned more money than I've earned for 30 years, and life has been great. And suddenly Rishi calls a general election.
Yay!
At very short notice, I thought, well, it's impossible. I can't possibly come back with just 4 weeks to go. But I began to realize, as I traveled around the country, that I simply could not stand aside.
Rescue attempt is
when
a
the
go.
choice or lack of choice is between slippery Sunak, the biggest spinner since Blair, who's trying to convince us in what is now the 5th consecutive Conservative manifesto that somehow they're a party of low tax.
I need an adult.
When they put the tax burden up to the highest it's been since 1948.
Rishi Sunak
to
needs
convince us that they're a party of low immigration levels. And they got an 80-seat majority in 2019 on the back of that. And remember, with considerable support from the Brexit Party as well. We helped them enormously. But I couldn't stand aside and be lied to for the 5th manifesto in a row.
Emotional damage.
Premiership, we've let in 2.5 million people in the last 2
Come on, Nigel.
years
Tell
alone.
us
Think
what
about
you're
it.
going to do.
1 in 30 people in this country has come in since Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister. And I couldn't stand aside and see a Labour leader. When I say leader, I don't believe the man has any leadership qualities whatsoever. None.
Keir Starmer, he's an absolute asshole. An asshat.
And I think to lead a country through difficult times in a war that is in, I wouldn't quite go as far as that, sir, but I get the point. I do get the point. We need someone leading our country in difficult times when the world is perhaps in a more perilous place than it's been at any point in our lifetimes. You do need a degree of charisma.
Charisma. A bit of riz. A bit of
Now,
riz. Have you got any?
Drizzle, baby.
I mean, this is the big
Keir
question.
Starmer
Have you
has
got
the
any
charisma of a... Well, I did use this 10 years ago in the European Parliament, but I'm going to dig it out of the cupboard. He has the charisma of a damp rag.
That was a bit bland.
And
a dog's turd could have
And
helped.
what does he stand for? What does he stand for? He can't even define what a woman is. He flips and flops and changes his mind. So I couldn't stand aside. I couldn't stand aside with a country that's in economic decline. And think about this. GDP per capita has fallen for the last 6 consecutive quarters.
I think Keir Starmer might just have some problems with this speech.
There will always be something to offend a feminist.
Safety, people fearful of going out at night, people scared to even go out to their local pub, knives being carried wholesale by young people in our country. So we are, I've no doubt, in societal decline. And I couldn't stand aside in a country that is in cultural decline. And I must say, I thought young Zia spoke absolutely magnificently.
Oh my God!
He was magnificent.
A country.
We didn't listen to him that much there. You can
A
go and
country
watch
that has
this
forgotten
yourself.
What it is.
It's available.
A country
How many
that's
people are
forgotten
watching?
Where we come from. A country that
25,000
doesn't seem to value
nearly.
our culture, our inheritance, and what we wish to pass on to our children. So I felt I couldn't stand aside with all of these things going on. And exactly
Culture
4
and inheritance.
weeks ago, almost to the minute, I made a decision. And that decision was I was going to come out of retirement and come back to...
So he's only actually been pushing this for 4 weeks. In 4 weeks, Reform Party has gone from 0% to 20 odd percent. They're now looking at possibly 20 seats.
It has been, I'll tell you something, I've no doubt, something is happening out there.
That's what I'll be saying. Look.
Something remarkable is happening out there, and I'm seeing it across all ages. Never before have I seen so many young people concerned about the future of their country. It's great. Really great.
I'm going to go out and push some leaflets through some doors after this.
And this awakening crosses all classes, all ages, all races. Something remarkable is happening out there, and we're going up in the polls or down according to some. It all depends which methodology they use. But I know we're doing very well. Do you know how? Because when you threaten the establishment, they don't exactly come out with a tray of gin and tonics, now do they? And I think the establishment itself know that the Conservatives
it's been a very warped
deserve
conservatism
to lose this election,
nerdy.
but that Labour don't deserve to win it.
Very warped. And there's not a lot of difference. In fact, there's paper thin difference between the Conservatives and the Labour.
And everywhere I go,
it's nothing
I
different.
sense that we are the story. We're what people are talking about at the breakfast table, at work, at the pub, at the bingo hall, wherever people go. We are the story. Already many millions already have said they absolutely are going to vote for us. But
if that's true, it could actually be very, very big, because I get the feeling that most people are really bored, very, very bored with this whole election cycle. It has been very long. It's been something like 6 weeks since it was announced, and everybody is turned off. I mean, no one's interested. If the only people that are actually really, really interested are people who are going to vote for reform, this could be huge. So everything's going to depend how many Tories and how many Labour supporters actually turn up and bother voting.
Present change is for the birds. It's going to be more of the same, just perhaps a little bit less competent than the Conservatives, if you can even believe that is possible.
Less competent than the Conservatives. That is an interesting statement.
Now look,
I think that needs
rough
to
and
be
tumble
verified. Can
of
anybody
political
be
debate,
less competent?
and all's fair in love and war. But I have to tell you, one or two of the things that have happened over the course of the last few weeks
propaganda
go way, way beyond what is reasonable and what is fair. The first day of the campaign, I did an event down in Dover, where I talked about one of my pet subjects, the boats crossing the English Channel. And it was interesting because the BBC News Channel took the speech live until they cut it off with the presenter saying, well, we cut away from that because here's Nigel Farage using his customary inflammatory language.
Inflammatory. Ooh.
And I demanded an apology. And I got one, which was remarkable. In fact, over the last year, I've had quite a few apologies, including from National Westminster Bank, which was rather good too.
Going to get one from Channel 4 soon.
I'm not afraid of standing up and fighting for what I believe in, whatever names they call me.
Hardly at all, nerdy. Hardly at all. Dover is basically the great crossing place, and therefore fish aren't very safe in there. So, and neither are boats. So most of the fishermen are further up the east coast or further along the south coast. So there's not many in Dover.
It must be the Russians that funded the Leave campaign. And this went on for year after year. And with us in the room today is Aaron Banks, one of the men who put the most money into that Brexit campaign.
It wasn't Russia, it was
China.
And Aaron,
China.
Aaron had to fight the Russia hoax for years in the courts until he finally won against a Guardian journalist. Russia had nothing to do with our success in that referendum.
Russia. It was Russia.
So it was the BBC
Russia
that
did it.
started off the Russia hoax. And I understand why the BBC don't like me. I
British
understand why the Labour Party
Broadcasting
don't like me.
Corporation.
I
Please,
understand why the
Nigel,
Conservative
please.
Party don't like me
The
because
great British
unlike
Broadcasting
them,
Corporation.
I could see that the war in Iraq 20 years ago was a mistake because there was never any end game.
It was a lie as well, a lie. All lies. Lies, I tell you, lies.
And unlike them, the war that David Cameron launched in 2012 against Libya, I railed against again and again and again. But of course, it was supported by the Conservative Party, supported by the Labour Party. And what happened?
And the
A
fucking
new
American-
organisation was created, ISIS. We created ISIS. Before the Libyan war, there were no boats crossing the Mediterranean.
Oh, you've got a politician saying we created ISIS. Oh, somebody's at my door.
Like them, who seem to have no feeling or understanding for history. I predicted 10 years ago in the European Parliament that because of our actions, there would be a war in Ukraine. I said it openly, I said it clearly, and I was the only British political figure to get that right. And now we have this horrific conflict with perhaps up to 1 million battle casualties. But that gets twisted by the BBC
about you,
because I predicted it into support for President Putin. Can I just be absolutely clear?
Be clear.
I think what Putin has turned Russia into was a post-communist country with the wall coming down, with the hope of a democratic future, and he's turned it into a brutal dictatorship in which his enemies go to prison and die.
Sounds a bit like the United Kingdom to me, and America.
And I think what Putin has
as
done in Ukraine is absolutely morally reprehensible in every single way. Have you got that?
I could teach him a few things.
But the final straw.
But he's allowed his opinion.
For me with
This
the
is the
BBC
20% that I don't
took
agree with
place
him.
last Friday here in Birmingham. A question time special.
The great British Broadcasting
I think it might be the
Corporation
40th
at its
question
best.
time that I've done over the years. Now, look, I expect an audience not all to agree with me. But I don't expect the first questioner to be somebody who has produced 8 separate BBC programmes over the course of the last year, including Doctor Who, which I used to love, and they've completely ruined. And then
The conspiracy, Nigel. It's a conspiracy.
And then the third questioner, a pro-Palestinian known activist. Does anyone think that group of people were representative of the great British public in any way at all?
Of course they were, Nigel.
Well, I've had enough.
They were.
I've had enough. Have you had enough of the BBC?
I've had enough.
Well, we will renew with added vigour our campaign over the course of the next few years, as we're going to be the leading voice of opposition. And I say that.
The leading voice
I
of
say that
opposition. He thinks he's going to get 50,
because
60, 100.
The Conservative Party will be in opposition, but they won't be the opposition because they disagree with each other on virtually everything. Think about it. The last 4 years, all we've had are internal
What do you
Tory
think he's
wars.
aiming for?
They
How
stand
many?
for nothing. I was told they're a broad church.
How many?
Well, they're a broad church
Does he
without
really think
any
he can
religion.
get now?
It simply doesn't work. So we will
The rhinos versus
renew
the
our
MAGA, he's
campaign
saying.
with added
Split down the
vigour
middle.
to say that the state broadcaster has abused its position of power.
Yep, abused.
And we will campaign. We will campaign as the leading opposition voice in this, not just in Parliament, but in the country too. We will campaign for the abolition of the BBC licence fee.
Yay! Let's see how many
That's
people
popular.
will pay for this shit.
Wow, that's popular. You like that, don't you? You like that, don't you?
Make the BBC compete.
And then we have Channel 4.
The BBC can compete, and then they can have their
A
own
so-called
ideas that they
public
wish.
service broadcaster.
The concept of an independent
Well, let me tell
journalism
you.
has gone through the floor.
What happened in Clacton Saturday week back was the biggest put-up job and smear campaign I have seen in my entire life.
Come in, Mr. Parker. Come in,
That
Mr.
man-
Parker. Are you there, Mr. Parker?
That
I need a
man
lift.
is a professional actor who has worked for Channel 4 in the past. Funny that, isn't it?
Funny.
He's very, very poshly spoken, but he does what he calls rough talking and makes pretty abusive TikTok videos, etc. From the minute he turned up in that Clacton office, he was using the most extraordinary Cockney accent I've ever heard.
Most extraordinary.
He call blimey gov, quite right.
Poor blimey. Poor blimey.
Quite
God.
right. Cockles and muscles, alive, oh, and all of it. But, yeah, he could have been from the fish market, but he wasn't. And interestingly, he did spend some time talking to two people in the office who both, it turned out, were undercover Channel 4 reporters. He seemed to know them. So from the moment he walked in, the whole thing was an act. And he tried to get reform canvassers to say rude and abusive things. And when they wouldn't do it, he did it himself. And when I saw the video, initially I was horrified until I realized he'd gone completely over the top with the idea that every mosque should be turned into a Wetherspoon. And the next morning when confronted, he of course denied that he was a journalist, then he accepted it. But that of course has been used as the biggest smear
Denied
against
he
us.
was an actor.
The racist
that worked for
racist
journalists.
campaigner for our party. Now look,
But I'm going to give him that.
Reform
He's
is a
in
new
front of a load of
organisation.
people, and he's just
It's a
saying
start-up.
something. You know, everybody makes
And there
mistakes
were
when they're
requests put
talking
out
live.
for candidates to stand. And have we had a few bad apples? We have.
Bad apple.
Although, to my knowledge,
A few.
nobody involved in an organised betting ring is standing for us, which is something.
What the fuck?
The Channel 4 story was a put-up job. It really is frankly gross that insult should be directed at all of you and all of our millions of voters. It is simply untrue. But I have to say,
we're all racist.
The bad apples are gone. We'll never have them back.
We're all bigoted.
And Channel 4, listen to this.
We're gonna
YouGov
kick you
polling
out.
published this
You're
morning.
going to lose your license.
Reform UK is now polling higher with British ethnic minorities than the Liberal Democrats.
Holy shit. Higher than the Lib Dems amongst ethnic minorities. Unbelievable. If true. If true. Is that the statement that Nigel
So, Channel 4
was to say?
Put that in your bloody pipe and smoke it.
Put that in your bloody pipe and smoke it, Cobber.
But the attempt to stop us,
it's like the United States,
on.
isn't it, Sandy? It's just like the United States.
Would you believe?
That's what I said at the beginning.
Today,
it's a convention.
Since we went live at 12 o'clock.
How many are watching now?
In the middle of Anne Widdecombe's
Still
speech.
25,000 nearly. In the middle of Anne Widdecombe's speech. What happened?
Our live stream on TikTok was suspended.
Ooh. Ooh.
For the use of hate speech.
Ooh.
Now, I don't know about you, I've always found Anne Widdecombe rather charming. Principled, decent. I mean, she's a battler. She's a warrior. She's actually a fantastic role model for women in this country to go out and do things.
I'm afraid we're going to have to.
China.
Ban China. Bloody TikTok.
China.
It was China.
So it's been tough.
They did it. China
did it. The last few days have been tough.
It came from China.
I've wondered.
China.
Am I really doing this all again? Well, I am. And I'm not downhearted. Are you downhearted?
No.
And we're doing much better out there than anybody in the media, in politics, even dares to imagine in their worst nightmares. We are doing well. We're doing well.
Needs a bit more of a groundswell.
And
still,
we are not.
But they are doing well.
We are not a protest vote.
This is unbelievable.
Even though there is much to protest against. People are supporting us because we have a vision. People are supporting us because we can see the way forward. People are supporting us because we stand up for values. People are supporting us because we believe in the family, and we put in our contract with the people, I think, a brilliant idea that you front-end load child benefit, so that if a mother with young kids wants to stay at home until they're of school age, we'll make it easier for them to do so.
And then remove all of the child benefit so that they can work while the child is at school.
We're the first party in years
Do you think that's
to
what
talk
it
in a
means?
positive way about marriage.
Front loading.
Now, you know, not all of us.
Don't do that. There's nothing positive
Not all
about
of us have the
marriage.
best record
There's
in this
nothing
particular
positive, Nigel, about marriage.
Area, but there's no doubt that children brought up in a loving married relationship have better life chances than anybody else.
The problem
They
with your
just do.
statement is most marriages are not loving.
So we're pushing.
That's where the fucking
We're
problem
pushing
comes
the
in,
idea
Nigel.
of transferable tax allowances. And what is it that's really hurt the family?
Transfer
Well,
me.
part of it,
me
I
your
think,
tax allowances, please.
is the psychological damage that was done to us through repeated lockdowns. And
psychological. We're all
there is
fucking
no
mad.
conversation
We're all insane.
about lockdowns. No conversation about mask mandates.
Has everybody
No
still got
conversation about the
PTSD from
fact
lockdown? Have they,
even
Nigel?
wanted
Come on,
to
man.
vaccinate our young kids.
I need a
No
drop
conversation.
here. Come on, man.
No
Needs to
debate.
be a loud one.
Because Labour and the Conservatives both agreed. The cost of living also has impacted every family in this country. Runaway inflation, which happened chiefly because we've been living way beyond our means, and because the Bank of England is led by the utterly useless Andrew Bailey. Utterly useless. So interest rates which had to go up have impacted particularly those with mortgages or those renewing. But think about this. Again, not discussed.
That happens every
Not
time we've got
debated in the election
inflation, Nigel.
campaign by
Every
Labour or
time there's
Conservatives.
inflation, you've
When the
got to
Conservatives came
stop
to
people
power,
from
our
spending
accumulated
shit.
national debt was roughly £1 trillion. It is now £2.7 trillion, and the interest repayments are £90 billion a year, the same as the education budget, which is ironic, isn't it? Because they're the ones who actually, when they get older, are going to face paying all of this off. We're being frank with people. We've been badly let down. But one of the biggest costs for families is energy. Whether it's
I have
filling up
other
your
ways
car
of getting my
because
frustrations
you live in a
out.
rural area and can't survive without
I can't
it.
talk about them on here.
But it's the electricity bill, isn't it? It's the gas bill. It's all of these things. And what have we done? We pursued
This is a very serious,
aggressive
important
net
conversation
zero
that's going on here. I
policies
can't talk about my
which have
frustrations.
deindustrialized Britain, sent our manufacturing off to India and China and elsewhere.
We deindustrialized Britain
the cost
since
of subsidy
late 1970s.
onto the electricity bills of ordinary families. I'm for renewable energy if it works, but it gives us intermittent, expensive energy. So we would scrap
renewable energy work
the
again.
excessive, impossible to achieve net zero agenda of both parties. And for those worried about carbon dioxide, for those worried about that, well, we'll go for small modular nuclear reactors as a source of continuous energy without any carbon output.
Small modular nuclear
Without any
reactors.
carbon
Where are we going to
output.
get the uranium
So we're
from?
thinking a
You
lot
better start
about families
talking
and the
nicer
cost of
about
living.
Putin if you want
We
to
also
do that,
believe
buddy.
that community matters. And that is why the mass immigration policies begun by Tony Blair and now accelerated by the Conservatives have led us in many of our towns and cities now to have completely divided communities where one group of people don't even talk to the other group of people.
That's how it's always been.
Just plain wrong.
Tribal,
Plain
Nigel.
wrong.
Tribal. We're all tribal.
And it's into that that we saw the horrific, shocking scenes after the recent local elections
What we did
of sectarian
we lost
voting
our
in
own
England.
culture.
In England.
We lost it.
Sectarian voting happening. And by the way,
Many people
a
say
new
we
form
don't
of
have a
politics
culture.
in which
White
women
people aren't
are
cultured.
completely
You can't have a
excluded.
culture.
Did you see Angela Rayner? Did you see Angela Rayner sitting there begging for the Muslim vote in her constituency? Not a single woman to be seen. But one of the most damaging things that is going on
More dams,
is
damn
what
it.
is happening in our schools,
Hello, Victor.
in our universities.
Hello, hello, hello.
A willful attempt to poison the minds of our young people to believe that we are somehow uniquely bad in terms of our history, when in fact, completely the opposite is true. Completely opposite.
He's a good politician. I've got to give him that. He knows
Critical
how to
race
get
theory,
people going.
which tells an 8-year-old
theory.
white boy
Critical
that
race.
he's an oppressor and an 8-year-old black boy that he's a victim. This is a disaster. This
It has
won't bring
to
us
change.
together. It'll drive us apart. It's terrible.
At last,
I made this
the
point
only
to Trevor
politician
Phillips this
saying
morning,
this.
He was dumbstruck for about 10 seconds because everyone's bought in to the diversity and inclusion agenda. They all seem to have brought into the idea that we should all be divided up according to our race, according to our sexual preference, of which there are now so many I can't even keep up or understand what many of the definitions are. Our view is different. Our view in reform is we don't care what race
Equality.
you are. We don't
Exactly.
care what your sexuality is.
Absolute
We're not interested.
equality. Absolute equality.
We don't want to live.
Are you any good at delivering?
We don't
There you
want
go.
to live
You're in.
in a country that is
Are you
divided up.
you?
We want to live in a country
You're in.
where everybody,
Are you shit at
regardless
what you
of
do?
who they are
Fucking lucky.
equal
Doesn't matter your
before
gender,
the
doesn't
law.
matter your race, doesn't matter what your sexuality is, doesn't matter any of that. If you're shit, fuck off.
And I would say to those that have called us nasty names, none of those people with those tendencies are welcome in this party. None of them. And if anybody in this room is motivated
How
by
many are
hatred
going to
and
get up
loathing
and
of
walk
others
out now?
because they're
How many are
different,
going to
I
walk
invite
out?
you to leave the room now.
Now,
Let's tell
stand
people
up.
who we
Come on.
are.
Stand up and we'll start walking out. Let's see how many go. Let's see. People
above
have
all,
learned
we believe
to
in
keep their
country.
real views.
And you
Very,
can't be
very
a
quiet.
country unless you control your borders.
People.
It's
Oh,
vital.
borders.
It's essential.
You can't be a country
Now, I
unless
went
you
out-
control your people.
I went out 4 years ago
Borders, not people.
into the
borders.
English Channel and I filmed the dinghies coming across. I challenged mainstream media. I said, why are you not covering this story? And I predicted that huge numbers of people would come. Well, now it is 4,000 boats later. It is 128,000 people.
So of all those people, so Nigel Farage likes to say a lot of the time, I destroyed the British National Party. My issue is, so where did those people go? They're going to go somewhere. Some of them will have joined or voted for the Tories. Some of them will have voted for Labour, some for Lib Dem, and they've maintained their extremist views that you demand that you get rid of. Some of them are here in your party, Nigel. You know that. Your comments, you've got to get rid of them. This is Britain, for fuck's sake. It's diversity.
And you pay for the 4-star hotel. And they get free medical care. They get free dental care. Who's got an NHS dentist here? But it isn't just the unfairness of it.
Talking about migration.
It isn't just the fact that it's so wrong that British people ultimately get pushed to the back of the social housing queue. It isn't just that. It's far worse than that. This is a national security emergency, no less. And I was amazed.
Anybody wants to come in?
The other night used that phrase.
The link is there.
But one of the reasons that Rishi called this election early is his promise that the planes would go to Rwanda in July was never, ever going to happen. Never going to happen.
Is Nigel going to say that it will happen?
Well, on his
he
6
said
election
he's
priorities,
take the UK out of the
once
European
legal
Convention
or
on Human
illegal
Rights.
Immigration, and so this crisis is set to continue. But it's a bit rich. It's a bit rich for the Conservatives to say to Labour, it'll be even worse under you. How much worse can it get than it is right now? We know we will never solve this problem all the while we have an interfering foreign court in Strasbourg. We will campaign to leave the European Court of Human Rights.
ECHR, in order to be able to deliver the ability to send people to Rwanda,
and of course the first,
we have to leave the
priority
ECHR. That also
any
means we'll
government
have to change a lot
is
of
to defend
our
this country and to defend its people.
legal
And we're living, as I mentioned earlier, in a much
law,
more
a
dangerous
lot of our
world
laws
than any of us have seen
to
in our
overcome
lifetimes. So what have
overcome
14
a lot
years
of the
done
history of those laws.
to our services? The Navy and Marines down by 15%. The Royal Air Force
Nobody
down
wants
by
to be in there.
27%. The British Army down by 30%. And we pretend we're spending 2% of GDP on defence by adding in all sorts of other budgets. And this isn't a case
Our
of whether we go up
spies,
to 2.5%.
what of our
by
spies that
2030
are over in
or
Russia
2029.
and China
We need
and everywhere? We call them
massively
diplomats.
increased defence spending and rebuilding our
We
armed
say that's
forces,
our
and it
defence
needs
spending.
to start right away. And we must recognise that for our future security, NATO and the relationship with America is absolutely key. And I promise you this, David Lammy and Keir Starmer want to take us into, just as Mrs. May did before. In fact, was she the worst ever Prime Minister? There's a lot of competition out there, you know, isn't there? Very difficult.
There's a lot of competition.
Just as Mrs. May wanted to do, Labour will take us into the European Defence Union, taking us closer to that and further away from NATO, and we will fight that every single inch of the way.
European Defence Union. Europe with its own armies.
Many of these things are not even being discussed in this
European
general election.
Commission.
In fact, the two
Fucking
big debates that I was
scary.
part of with panels, I saw Penny Mordaunt up against Angela Rayner. And it turned into a sort of a cat fight. You know, you're going to put taxes up. No, you're going to put taxes up. None of them really telling us what they stand for. Nobody with a vision for the future of this country. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an optimistic, positive view of what we can do to help families, to help communities, to help our nation, perhaps to get back a bit of pride in what we are, in who we are, and where we can go in the future. That is where we are. And
it's going to be interesting. It is going to be interesting.
I know that under our electoral system, things are tough. We're likely to get fewer seats than the number of votes should deserve. But get seats next Thursday. We will, believe it. It is going to happen.
Nigel Farage opposite Keir Starmer at Prime Minister's questions.
Party with, you know, not a particularly high share of the vote, with a massive number of seats, and part of what we're about is reforming the potentially corrupt postal voting system, reforming the voting system, getting rid of the unelected House of Lords in their current form. Yes.
It's just like listening to Donald
We are
Trump,
the
isn't it?
reformers. We are the reformers in every sense. We believe that at the same time,
we need
you can
to
respect
strip
your
it
culture,
down,
your traditions,
destroy it,
but move it into
rebuild
and
it
make it
better.
appropriate
Make
for the
Britain great.
21st century. That is what we're all about. And I know that Starmer is going to win this election, but I believe this. What Thursday is about is the first step. It's the first major step that we take.
Do you believe
in
me now?
An independent United Kingdom to turn this around. Britain is broken. Britain needs reform.
I got an awful feeling he'll have a heart attack in the House of Parliament.
And so,
he's going to be so pissed off with what
we will
Starmer does.
become the voice of opposition, and my intention, given that we're hitting 60,000 paid-up members today, over 200,000 people now, supporters on our database. We're growing rapidly. My intention is we build, over the course of the next few years, a mass movement, the likes of which has never been seen in the modern history of this country. A mass movement for real change. A mass movement.
We're going to need to improve the sewage system if we've got a load of mass movements, to tell you.
And I believe
oh, there's only a couple of minutes
that we
left
can
of
do this. Do you believe that we can do
believe,
this?
Nigel. I believe, Nigel. I
Are
believe.
you with us on the journey for the next 4 days? Are you with
Will I
us
be disappointed?
on the journey for the next 5 years?
You're right, V.
Are
You
we
are
going
right.
to change British political history?
Like cartoons.
But if you're with me and support us and our candidates and our goals and are as unashamedly patriotic as everybody else on this platform, please stand up so that I can thank you. Thank you very, very much indeed. Thank you for being here today. Onwards to Thursday. Thank you.
He puts on a good show. He's given a good speech. I do like this music that they've got, but you know, how much of it's true? There we go. Yes, Sandy. Yes. Of course, you will be disappointed. Let's not get unrealistic at our age. You're absolutely right. He's saying all the right things. Everything that he's saying is, it's there to trigger your emotions and everything. Everything he's saying. And it's working. It's getting a lot of people. The question is, will he actually deliver on that? If he got into power, is he able to deliver on it? Would he try to deliver on it? Or would he do something else? Would he get hit with the anti-establishment deep state stuff that would arise in the same way that it arose against Trump from 2016? Trump was unable to deliver anything that he really wanted to deliver. He didn't make it good for himself. But anyway, that looks like it's it. It's done. It's finished. It's over. And now we wait for Thursday. So let me see. What can we do here? Well, I think that's going to be it. So I'm going to say goodbye.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Say goodbye.
Got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with, now they looking nervously. And I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see. I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe. I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
I shot my wife in the stomach with 38.
Why did you do this?
She enticed me and she ridiculed me throughout my lifetime. I'll see if she's alive. You alive? She's dead. I think she's dead.
Sensational.
Okay, you're banned.